We're going live.
Okay.
Meeting is being live streamed. And Jai. Wow, it's so nice to see you in my poor Dham, Connor Prabhu.
It's a better background than my wall.
Haribo Krishna Chandra Prabhu, obeisances to you.
Dandava Pranams. Good to see you and Dr. Kana Prabhu and Rasangi Mataji.
Yeah, Rasangi's just on her way home. She's just listening in while we I was thinking from now on to start with Nectar of Instruction first, so we can end on a bedtime story, a Krishna story. All right, so let me find the share screen here, and let me find
you and Dr. Kana Prabhu and
here we are.
Rasangi Mataji.
Yeah, Rasangi's just on her way home. She's just listening in while we I was thinking from now on to start with Nectar of Instruction first. Everything is bouncing back. Okay, I've got that under control. Let me just shut off that YouTube so we don't have to listen to it. All right, here we are. So there's a few ways to sing the Sad Goswami Astaka prayers by Srinivasacharya in honor of the 6 Goswamis. Generally, this is always chanted. The second one is usually always chanted, the second prayer before reading the Nectar of Devotion. I like going through all 8 of the prayers. So we'll go back to the beginning, to the first one right now. I'll just go through it on my own since it always bounces back and forth. Krishna Kirtana Gananardana Paro Premamritambo Nidhi Dhira Dhira Jana Priyo Priyakaro Nirmatsaro Pujito Sri Chaitanya Kripa Baro Bhuvi Bhuvo Paravahantarako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Sri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Sri Jiva Gopalako. Krishna Chandra Prabhu, would you like to read the translation to that, please?
With pleasure. 1 second. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are always engaged in chanting the holy name of Krishna and dancing. They are just like the ocean of love of God, and they are popular both with the gentle and with the ruffians, because they are not envious of anyone. Whatever they do, they are all pleasing to everyone, and they are fully blessed by Lord Chaitanya. Thus, they are engaged in missionary activities meant to deliver all the conditioned souls in the material universe.
Thank you. Popular both with the gentle and with the ruffians, because they're not envious of anyone. What a wonderful place to be. Not envious of anyone.
Yes, I second that.
Pleasing to everyone. And fully blessed by Lord Chaitanya.
Oh, it's...
Jai, Bhavatrini, and Hari are back. Haribo, businesses to you.
Hare Krishna. We're having technical problems with the sound.
Okay. I went to visit Jivan Mukta last night. He's the first devotee I've seen in months. He had me over. I brought my pizza and he had the veggie burgers. And so we shared with his son. And he was just we were mutually expressing our appreciation for you, Bhavatrini. and everybody, just what wonderful association you are, and how much we learned from you, because you spent, like you said, 200 times with Prabhupada, but it's not just that you spent 200 times with Prabhupada, but it's just, well, I guess, the 200 times with Prabhupada and all the other time you spent with, Srila Narayan Maharaj and other advanced devotees, it made you the wonderful devotees that you are. So we're grateful.
So kind. We really appreciate your association. Today is our legal wedding anniversary.
Wow.
17 years ago, we've been married 36 years, and we had an alternative wedding. And Narayan Maharaj said, well, it wasn't legal. It wasn't like in the temple with fire sacrifice, but we had a wedding, and Narayan Maharaj said we had to be legally married. So Budara did an astrological chart and picked a day for it. And it fell on the day that my mother died on the solar calendar. And we were saying, oh, well, we don't know about this. And everyone concluded that it would be a nice way to celebrate my mother's life by getting married that day.
One ending and one beginning.
Right. So, but what's funny is my stepmother was buried today on my mother's death anniversary.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't know how to explain that if I was an astrologer. A lot of synchronizing going on.
Right. So that's such a wonderful kirtan, the Sad Goswamis, and I love the way that recording with George Ruckert on the Sarod.
Oh, that's George Ruckert. Okay, that from the Ali Akbar Khan School.
Right.
Music.
And his wife Sarah played the tambura.
Did you know them?
I met them.
Oh, I gotta go.
Well, our truck broke down and the tow truck is here, so Marie has to go outside.
Okay. So why don't we go to Rasangi's on her way home right now?
Oh, okay.
And Krishna Chandra just read the translation. So why don't you start with the Nectar of Instruction? Let me just, Shri Upadeshamrita, where is it? There we are. Good. Okay. Just get that up on. Oh no, where did it go? I clicked on it and it disappeared. Isn't that wonderful? Sorry. All right. I just have to scroll down. If you click on the wrong thing on the computer, it just can throw everything off.
Yeah, that's what we did with the speakers for our sound. I clicked on the wrong thing and now we don't have speakers, so the sound's kind of low.
Oh, you don't have speakers.
Well, we're just using our laptop speakers, which aren't very good, but we had gotten it hooked up to some speakers and I did something so that they don't work anymore.
And they're never going to work again?
No, I just.
Oh. All right.
Here we go. Okay.
Another impediment.
Okay. Another impediment is prajalpa, unnecessary talking. When we mix with a few friends, we immediately begin unnecessary talking, sounding just like croaking toads. If we must talk, we should talk about the Krishna consciousness movement. Those outside of the Krishna consciousness movement are interested in reading heaps of newspapers, magazines, and novels, solving crossword puzzles, and doing many other nonsensical things. In this fashion, people simply waste their valuable time and energy. In the Western countries, old men retired from active life play cards, fish, watch television, and debate about useless socio-political schemes. All these and other frivolous activities are included in the prajalpa category. Intelligent persons interested in Krishna consciousness should never take part in such activities. Jnana Sangha refers to associating with persons not interested in Krishna consciousness. One should strictly avoid such association. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has therefore advised us to live only in the association of Krishna conscious devotees. Bhakta Sane Vasa. Right. One should always engage in the service of the Lord, in the association of the Lord's devotees. Association with those engaged in a similar line of business is very conducive to advancement in that business. Consequently, materialistic persons form various associations and clubs to enhance their endeavors. For example, in the business world, we find such institutions as the Stock Exchange and the Chamber of Commerce. Similarly, we have established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness to give people an opportunity to associate with those who have not forgotten Krishna. This spiritual association offered by our ISKCON movement is increasing day by day. Many people from different parts of the world are joining this society to awaken their dormant Krishna consciousness.
Thank you, Bhavatrini. So these 2 points, Prajopa and Jnana Sangha, would you like to please share some of your thoughts on Hari Boner, Hari Pro? How are you feeling? Are you feeling better now?
A little bit better, yeah. A little bit.
Yeah.
Makes compared to then, a lot better.
Okay. Yeah, so you heard these 2 points that were just shared by Bhavatrini on Prajopa and
Jnana Sangha. I never
Jnana
heard
Sangha.
Jnana Sangha before. Is that like association birth Sangha? People who took birth in the material world?
Well, we could actually go back and we can look. I think it's defined as association with devotee. Oh no, Jnana Sangha means associating with worldly minded persons.
Right.
Yeah.
So people who've taken birth in the material world, Jnana.
Sangha with the jhana, with the common folk.
Yeah.
I'm really good at Prajalpa.
Just a master.
Got a PhD in it.
Right. I like just like croaking toads.
Yes, and Prabhupada gives the analogy that what are the toads doing when they're croaking? They're actually, it's a mating call, but while they're croaking for their female toad to be attracted to their croaking, just like some of us in our kirtan, we're croaking, hoping that one of the Matajis, or maybe she'll notice my kirtan. But actually, when the toads are croaking, they're inviting the snakes of death to come and swallow them up, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So when we get caught up in, how do they like my kirtan? How do they like my class? We're inviting death to catch us. Yeah.
So now you have the same word used for very, 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 very high ecstatic emotions that Radharani feels. Is about 30 something. There's a division of emotions where she would talk to incoherently, where she looked like a mad person. She's mad in love, and so she talks to trees or like that, or talks, to friends or like that to trees, and so they use the same word, prajalpa.
Really?
Yeah,
And there's a little slight variation in it, but it's like, it means.
Is it pronounced different or have a different diacritical mark?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. It's in. Of course, it's in Jaiva Dharma, but it was in actually Chaitanya Charitamrita, but I listened to it about 6 days ago.
Oh, that's oral, so you can't see the writing.
Yeah.
So.
Are you finished making your point? I'm trying to understand.
He was just saying that the same
that,
word is used for Radharani with
okay.
ecstatic emotions.
yeah.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
another
No, you've
very
taken it to the highest platform. But I mean, it's nice to hear that. I'm at least I'm not doing crossword puzzles, but
I
yeah, I
think
used to,
it's kind of endearing the way Prabhupada has, coming from his years and years in Vrindavan, and then he's observing the Western culture of, television and fish and God.
Yeah, I was surprised to
social
see
political
the fish.
schemes. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know. It's kind of endearing to see.
It is. It's so endearing. You usually point out those.
We're observant, like Guru Das was in an interview, our god brother,
It was
Guru
on
Das,
Namras's.
and I think he was talking about, and there was another devotee, the early devotees that were seeing how Prabhupada would observe. He would take in all, like, he wanted to know everything. That was Govinda Dasi, actually. She was very specific, and he would come and to their apartment and teach Gaur Sundar in the kitchen Sanskrit while she was doing something, maybe another service for him. And so Prabhupada would ask questions that would have about the culture, about America, and like that. A lot from Govinda Das. It's very, very interesting, and she could see how he was formulating, but the approach, yeah. But especially was so surprised. You girls in America, you all go to college, so.
Yeah, for time, place, and circumstance. For his. Yeah.
And Guru has some fantastic things about time, place, and circumstance, and how to preach. That was just so amazing. Do you remember the details on the? Roshangi, where did you see Guru Das's interview?
I did. I talked to him. I'm in touch with him, but he also said that Prabhupada was fascinated with his camera, and for hours they tinkered, and he taught him about how to use the camera.
What I loved, it was so endearing. He said, of course, when he got there, the temple was established, and there was an apartment above the temple, and then Prabhupada had his own apartment and like that. But and so he was trying to figure out a way to get in to see Prabhupada. Somehow or other, Prabhupada saw the camera, and he said, "Oh, my friend wants a pentax. Can you get me a pentax and find out?" So he went and got catalogs and all that. But he showed Prabhupada his Nikon, and he showed him how to measure light, and Prabhupada played with it for a long time, and it was but he learned so quick. Everything he needed, it was Gargamuni talking about the first time they got a dictaphone, and to Gargamuni, and then it was like, wow, this looks pretty complicated.
Yeah, you want us to read the book?
Prabhupada, you want us to read the books? Just go. I'm okay, I'm fine. And no time. Gargamuni comes like in 15, 20 minutes, and he's like, got it down, no problem. And so anyhow.
Everybody should watch that interview if they get a chance and hear about Prabhupada's relationship with one of the first 6 devotees who helped to spread Krishna consciousness all over. And in English, Connor. I mean, if I haven't seen that.
Which interview, Roshangi?
The interview with Guru Das.
Oh yes.
Very special.
I'll pull up the Facebook link and put it in the chat for everybody. But I got about halfway through it at work the other night.
I thought I sent it to you, Connor.
You did. I was halfway through it in the at work yesterday. I haven't had a chance to finish it yet, but I'm absolutely amazed with it.
I know.
Can I bring things back to the topic we're just discussing?
Sure.
So
No, sorry, Gaura. No.
Not Prajalpa.
I don't want to be rude. I don't want to spoil a party.
The Prajalpa party, huh?
No, I'm not insinuating that. No.
Oh, no, she's
I was
naughty.
joking.
She likes to joke.
No, I was just thinking of this topic of Prajalpa because I've certainly been guilty of it in numerous times. And I was just wondering, there seems to be a thin line between Prajalpa and connecting with devotees. Like I'm thinking if someone's really fanatical, they could consider, anything that's not exactly Shastric, like that's Prajalpa, Prabhu. And then, if you're like a little bit more liberal, then you'll allow devotees to have some breathing room and catch up with one another. And do you know what I'm trying to say right now?
Yeah.
Well, I know Srila Prabhupada would talk to people in a friendly, casual way. Every word didn't, he said the more you say Krishna, how many times Krishna's in a piece of literature is its value. But
right.
Also other words are considered holy name too. But
I think there's a difference between what the spiritual master.
If a spiritual master says something, it's perfectly transcendental. Someone tells a story of how they were taking a walk and Srila Prabhupada met another elderly gentleman.
That's what I was thinking.
Is that one? And he didn't say anything about Krishna. They talked about false teeth, and Prabhupada showed him all his teeth. And
that was in John Lennon's place where there was a gardener there, and
that's
Prabhupada,
right.
He said, I have all my original teeth. How about you? They're around the same age. And Prabhupada knew
there was another meeting, Prabhupada in New York. I think there's another elderly man, and he tells him, they check, they talk about things, about their bodies, usually as we get old. And but Prabhupada said, and I have about 108 temples, something like that.
Right. I just
you do say, only time separates me from.
I don't know what verse this purport is to.
Number 2, we're on Nectar of Instruction number 2.
Yeah, I knew we were on Nectar of Instruction, but I didn't get to read the verse, and I forget what the verse is.
Oh, did you want to go back to that?
If that's okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. But since we're on the topic right now of Prajalpa, I just wanted to say, what did I want to say? We're probably making small talk. Yeah, one time when Ravi Shankar came with George Harrison to meet Srila Prabhupada, and I don't know if it was Guru Das or who it was that was explaining, but as much as Ravi Shankar is revered, including by many, many devotees, I was describing that Ravi Shankar wasn't that much interested in spiritual subject matter. And Prabhupada just talked to him about different flights from India. And he sent George to go to the kitchen with Shamasundar or someone to get the prasadam. But I guess the conclusion I'm coming to right here is even though it may appear to be small talk and maybe Prajalpa, at least this is what's coming as I'm hearing you all speak, what I'm reflecting on, even though externally it may appear that a devotee speaking Prajalpa, if in the back of his mind he's thinking, I want to bring this person closer to, because that's what I saw Pragosh Tripurari Swami do Vaisheshika when I was Bhakta Glen in O'Hare Airport in 75. I said, hey, where are you coming in from? Chicago or out of town? What's your work? You're from Flin Flon, Manitoba. All right, let's hear it for the Flin Flon hockey team. Or, you're an engineer. What kind? Mechanical and, chemical, this one or that one? And are you a good one? And whatever it took to get them to take a book, right? By hook or by crook, get them to take a book. So that's Prajalpa in Krishna's service, right? Sorta, kinda.
Yeah, right. It is, but I think it's different than what he refers to, like amongst devotees.
He was talking about devotees, I think, in the purport, because he says when they get together, they immediately start. So it would be rude to get together and not say, how are you? How is your family? How is your work? But it's just a basis of interacting, it's not the basis of the conversation. When I got,
Right.
I had a private darshan with Srila Prabhupada once. I mean, there were other, Sudama was there, and I brought Mandalal with me, but he spent the first part of us talking after he yelled at me. Just saying, "Oh, how are you? Are you happy? How's your health? Are your children?" He's talking to me like I was his daughter, and he wasn't saying anything about Krishna consciousness for about 10 minutes.
But basically,
First of all, he chastised you. Then he asked you how you were doing.
Well, when I walked in the room, I said about the jewelry, because I had inherited some jewelry.
Yeah.
And then I owed my sister tuition money for the Gurukula. So I paid her back by giving her my inherited jewelry. And then Prabhupada wrote me that I was supposed to keep the jewelry as a, like a backup for me in life,
Right.
because women should always have something security. And I'd already given it to my sister. So I came into the room and I said about the jewelry, because I was really concerned, And he said, "What jewelry? What is this jewelry nonsense?" He thought I was one of those people distributing the silver and jewelry and getting into Maya. He thought I was talking about that. And then he said, "Why aren't you in Vrindavan?" Because he told me to go live in Vrindavan, and I hadn't gone because I'd given him all my money and I didn't have any.
There's a lot of noise. I don't know what that is.
Oh, I just moved something. Sorry.
Okay.
I said, so he kind of yelled at me twice. "Why aren't you in Vrindavan?" I think he said that first. And that was because he told me after I gave him a donation, he told me to go live in Vrindavan, and I didn't have any way to get there, and I didn't want to bother him with, material things. So I didn't go there, but I did eventually.
You mean you didn't keep enough to get you to Vrindavan?
No, he told me to give him everything.
How can, okay, because it sounds contradictory. How can you
No.
get to Vrindavan if you give him everything and you have no means to go?
That's what I didn't ask him. He didn't tell me to go to Vrindavan until after I'd made the donation.
I see. Okay.
He didn't give me a room or anything. He didn't give me anything until after I gave the donation. Then unexpectedly. And that was a mistake.
It wasn't a commercial.
Yeah, that was a mistake a lot of us make, devotees. You hear so many stories. Well, Prabhupada told me to do such and such service. And like the one where he asked for Q-tips or earbuds or what, and there weren't any. So the person, instead of telling him there aren't any in the room, what should I do? He goes and rolls a piece of cotton and gives it to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada just puts it down, So I didn't tell him, "Oh, yes, so you've told me to go to Vrindavan, but how should I get there?" I should have asked.
Okay. Hari Prabhu, would you like to read? Excuse me. Sorry.
Sorry, what was that?
Would you like to read the verse for today? Because Baba Trini is making a big point. It's good to do a recap each day.
He talks for both of us. Prajal.
I talk for both of us.
Yeah.
No, I saw the interaction with Prabhupada and senior disciples.
Can we see the Sanskrit too? Okay.
One time we were in Mayapur. This is a short one. Vegavan from Sweden. He entered the room. Prabhupada, we were all sitting there. I think it was Gary, might have been there. Prabhupada said, "How are you?" He carried on long conversation, interested in how he was doing, and he wanted to know how is your family and how you doing and like that. Okay, you want to put up the.
He's ready to read. Yeah, ready and willing.
Atyahara prayashascha prajalpo niyamagraha Jana Sangascha Lolyam Cha Sabdir Bhaktir Vidnashati. So I'll proceed. Translate. Okay. Translation. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. 1. Eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. 2. Over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. 3. Talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. 4. Practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. 5. Associating with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And 6. Being greedy for mundane achievements.
Okay, thank you. Ananda Patni, I think your next reading.
You need to go.
I said I'm
Are you there, Ananda Patni?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, great. I know you've just been humbly listening. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati.
Okay. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anuvriti commentary that too much endeavor to acquire knowledge on the part of mental speculators or dry philosophers falls within the category of Vatyahara, collecting more than needed. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, the endeavor of philosophical speculators to write volumes of books on dry philosophy, devoid of Krishna consciousness, is entirely futile. The work of karmis who write volumes of books on economic development also falls within the category of Vatyahara. Similarly, those who have no desire for Krishna consciousness and who are simply interested in possessing more and more material things, either in the shape of scientific knowledge or monetary gain, are all included under the control of Vatyahara. Karmis labor to accumulate more and more money for future generations only because they do not know their future position. Interested only in getting more and more money for their sons and grandsons, such foolish persons do not even know what their position is going to be in the next life. There are many incidents that illustrate this point. Once, a great karmi accumulated a vast fortune for his sons and grandsons, but later, according to his karma, he took birth in a cobbler's house located near the building which in his previous life he had constructed for his children. It so happened that when this very cobbler came to his former house, his former sons and grandsons beat him with shoes. Unless the karmis and jnanis become interested in Krishna consciousness, they will simply continue to waste their life in fruitless activities.
Any points jump out for you, Ananda Patni, from those 2 paragraphs?
Yeah, I do think it's interesting. I hadn't really heard Vatyahara applied to, the endeavor for philosophical speculation and economic development. That's a good one. Mm-hmm. I'd always kind of naturally equated it with just, straight up kind of material objects.
Stuff, yeah.
The story of stuff, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and then also the kind of mercenary element of trying to, leave all this sort of money for one's descendants when you don't even know where the heck you're going. Yeah, that's good, really good. Wisdom.
Yes, sorry.
That's it.
I just have a question. With all of the uncertainty in the world today, I've heard so many people discussing cryptocurrency, buy gold, buy silver. Is that an example of Atyahara being concerned about monetary gain? Or is that just being practical? What's the difference?
Well, it depends on your attitude. And I was listening to Vaishashika talking about this recently when somebody asked him about, how they should arrange their economic responsibilities in life. And I think he gave the example of, I think Prabhupada said something like giving 50% of your income and then keep 25% for yourself or whatever. There's a ratio there. I can't quite remember. But I mean, a devotee is not just necessarily, throwing everything to the wind and just saying, oh, Krishna will sort it out. So everything, to my understanding, can be utilized properly if one is a householder, in embracing those responsibilities with the right mood and the right application.
Okay. Thank you. I'd like to call on our illustrious economic advisor here, the author of the Spiritual Economics. Thank you very much for coming, Dineshwar Prabhu. Our obeisance to you. I was going to actually fumbling with my cell phone to see if I could find you. Dineshwar, we're waiting for you. And Jai, you appeared. Would you like to comment on this section, Prabhu? Have you been listening to this part about Atyahara? Yes?
Yeah, I've been here for 10 minutes.
Oh, fantastic. Great,
Hello.
Great. Yes, thank you.
Investing in the stock market and cryptocurrency should be considered gambling, by my opinion. I know most devotees won't agree with that, but it is called speculation, actually, even by the investing crowd. Speculating means what? It means you want to get something for nothing. And so a lot of devotees don't agree with me. There was this one, maybe you heard about, there was some devotee someplace, or somebody, many devotees were giving a lot of money to somebody to invest for them.
Okay.
And something went wrong and many devotees lost a lot of money.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of money. I mean, big money.
Wow.
And so that's what happens, right? You speculate, and speculate means you can lose it. So the modern financial system is created by demons so that they can enhance their wealth. So much is mine today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So they've set up some very good schemes by which they can do that. And unfortunately, because we're indoctrinated in this culture, we think it's normal, and we don't think anything about doing the same thing. But actually, if we think about our philosophy, it's falls under the category of gambling.
So according to your understanding, Prabhu, this term atyahara, collecting more than what is required for monetary gain, for example, in your view, investing in stock market, cryptocurrency, that would be an example of atyahara. Is that correct?
Well, it's not so easy, because it's not easy. It's not so simple. Again, because we live in a culture or society that's created by demons. And so if we, let's say, and I think I gave this example when we talked about this a couple weeks ago. If you're living in a village and you're planting potatoes, how many potatoes do you need to plant? You only need to plant enough until you have potatoes next year, and maybe some extra considering spoilage and so on. But if you're planting potatoes for money, then there's no limit to the amount of planting that you'll do. You'll do as much as possible because you're actually trying to grow money and not food.
Excuse me for interjecting. What if you grow extra potatoes? What if I grow extra potatoes? Because I know you're growing oats, and I know if I grow extra potatoes, I'll be able to get some oats from you by bartering with you.
That's okay. That's okay. but you know, I'm trying to make the point that, you know, in a subsistence economy, the work is minimized because you directly benefit from the work that you do. In a money economy, you get your sustenance indirectly. First, you have to get money, then you get the things that you want. And because there's no limit to the things that we might want, therefore, there's practically no limit to the amount of money that we would like to have. So everything in this demonic culture, the labor, the work increases tremendously because of the unnecessary necessities that we are chasing after. In a subsistence economy or village culture, things become normalized very quickly because you don't have all these unnecessary necessities. Anyway, I can go on and on about that. I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Does anyone have any response or question for Dinesh Prabhu before we go back to the purport?
No,
Yes.
what I found fascinating, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Haribol.
Yes, Mary, Haribol. In beginning of 73, when I first I helped with the temple in Buenos Aires to open anyhow. I was going for classes in the morning. I think I was the only one pretty much. There was a sannyas and coming to Srimad Bhagavatam class. And because it was foreign, I had to translate everything. So that's what really made me join the temple. Lab history, fascinated by it. And how Prabhupada put it all together at the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. That fascinated me. That I said, yeah, reading Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. But in the Bhagavatam, he specifically said all economic situation will be resolved if we go back to the gold standard. And Gaura does. I said, well, what am I going to bring? A little gold bar? No, I mean, probably, they were silver. The precious metals, I think he referred to.
Yes.
So something to back your paper money, because paper money was a promissory note. And I was able to get a dollar bill that they said, what was it to?
Silver certificate.
Yes, a silver certificate. So that was backed up. 1853, Lincoln, they came out, they did I think he had to do his own economy. So everything, the dollar went back by silver. In 1853, you could get 16 ounces of gold to 1 ounce of silver. Because silver had become such a media, such a wonderful thing to, and then the big bankers, some people speculate the big bankers, demons, or like you said, the whole system has been set up for a long time. Big bankers pushed them or wanted to know that if he was going to maintain this type of economy, where now they could run their own local banks, local money, so local economy, and he said it's going great. So some speculated that his assassination was really due to his wanted to be truly independent, economically independent from these bankers who speculated on currency like that and made countries. So to this day, and I see in really wealthy countries being subjugated by international bankers. They dictate everything, and so people lose their paper money, loses value against the dollar. And now, but the dollar, now is petrodollar. Nixon did that. He switched us from gold standard to petrol. I was thinking, like, No, I'm trying to, because it stayed in my mind what Gaura was saying at that time, and there were so many of us talking.
And try to bring it back to the purport. I'm trying to like see how this connects to what we're reading right now.
Yeah, so the accumulation and like that, and speculation or not, and like that, what it entails, whether it's gambling or not. And I mean, Shamasundar did bring Prabhupada did exchange, the exchange for a while. They went to the stock exchange, and Prabhupada made $30,000 like real quickly. And the Prabhupada said, "And this is told by Shamasundar. I said, this is enough. That's enough." And so, but when
Sounds like a precedent that a lot of devotees could utilize.
Yeah, so
I'm just following Prabhupada's example.
It's like when Prabhupada drank the first can of 7-Up, he didn't have no idea what around the world would happen. Now we had to have that pizza with 7-Up. Prabhupada drank it, 7-Up.
Well, he called it 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
7 o'clock.
Yeah. So what is I think it goes back what is real wealth, and it goes back to the basic human bad things. So 6 enemies. One is greed, like you were saying, like
Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Madha, Moha, and Matsarya.
Envy. And envy is the principle. You see people like that. So, like Danodar was saying, like, Daneshwar, sorry. What are you growing potatoes for? Is food or not? But right now I see everything so topsy-turvy. You can't really convince we try to initiate a Prabhupada said, wealth is in land, wealth is having cows, having grains. And yes, you can back it up with some, you can have some currency that will be accepted throughout, no matter who it is, that it'll be valuable. So, but I see, I don't know what you think, Prabhu, but and the response to your book, I'm sure is great. But I'm talking about practicality, like who's ready to and where do we go to establish Varnashram? And I'm talking about in order to control this impulses of greed, where we're going to try to, it happened here in Hawaii. I see monocropping. Monocropping was a big deal. And even up until recently, they wanted to do that. People want to do that. They own land. And so they heard the Japanese are desperately looking for paper. So first the Japanese came here and they wanted to buy 19,000 acres to plant and to do mostly for paper. But then there was environmental agencies and like that blocked everything. So then the people private owners went to plant eucalyptus trees. They changed the whole thing, the whole coast, Hamakua coast. It was just beautiful, big, trees now. You have thousands of acres now that are sitting with trees. And
it's not beautiful. They're planted really close together. They make everything dark, and they block views all over. But
so when I see that when it's based on those bad human tendencies, no matter what they do, everything is going to turn to some speculation, profit. That this greed will come, and people crash. I mean, I've seen how many they lost because now they're sitting with a bunch of trees. But instead of thinking, like you were saying, like Prabhupada is Prabhupada Vedic culture. It's about basically what do we really need, and supply that. And basically, I mean, if food is available and can be grown and not for speculation and for profit, then it'll curtail a lot of that stuff. But we're in transition. I mean, I don't know that people will react or start acting and find help from Daneshwardas or from devotees that have studied this and have come out with proposition. I mean, it's a big thing, the economy of a society, but we don't even have a society. And like today, I got a letter from Govinda Dasi, a devotee of Light Printing, and she talks about what was it?
Moral
courage. So, okay, I know I'm making a long curve.
Yeah, we've got 6 devotees to read, and we got a Krishna book story coming up.
So what do you think, Prabhu?
Just so everyone has time.
I mean, I think that everything is backed with something, and this cryptocurrency that you were talking about, Gaura, is backed by popular demand, and so those things change very quickly. I mean, the Dutch lost. I mean, the Dutch were selling little tulips.
Oh yeah, that was their currency.
We were there, it was in the Rick Museum. You can see they would buy doll houses that would cost probably now the same amount as a house with one tulip. And then all of a sudden, this rare thing, somebody realized, oh, it's nothing. It's just the seed got a little bacteria or something, and it made a variation to the tulip, so it became so-called rare. Anyhow, the whole faith collapsed. And studying entrepreneurship in Costa Mesa, and my teacher was, it's all about the consensus of the people of what they think is valuable or not. So very, very flighty thing.
Thank you very much, Hari Prabhu. Can we start the Krishna book now?
Yes. Oh, I love Krishna book.
Okay. So let's see here. Okay, Nanda Patni's read, and we've just sung the Goswamis. And let's see, do we have? Yeah, it's actually on the same page here. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam. O Lord Krishna, please protect me and maintain me. O Lord Rama, descendant of King Raghu, please protect me. O Krishna, O Keshava, killer of the Keshi demon, please maintain me. Now, Rasangi, are you at home that you can read, or are you still traveling around? Actually, I have Daneshwar next, and then Rasangi's after you, Daneshwar Prabhu. If you excuse me, you're at home.
Yeah, after Dinesh.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So we're reading about Akrura. There he is, arriving in Vrindavan from the original Krishna book painting that Prabhupada loved so much. And a couple of paragraphs, please, Dineshwar Prabhu. We can't hear you. Are you muted?
Didn't we read from this last week at all? I thought we did.
Did we? I wrote to Nanda Patni to ask her that, but I didn't see her answer. So did we actually complete this?
Well, I don't remember, but anyway.
No, I'm asking everyone if they could please help me, because I shut off my whole computer and I lost everything. So does anyone remember this? Akrura.
Oh no, we just finished the last chapter, actually.
That's what I thought.
Thinking about it, right.
Okay, then I'm all right then.
Yep.
Okay, please.
Okay.
Chapter 37.
Chapter 37, Krishna book, Akrura's arrival in Vrindavan.
Right.
Narada Muni did not mention Krishna's killing Vyomasura, which means that he was killed on the same day as the Keshi demon. The Keshi demon was killed in the early morning, And after that, the boys went to tend the cows on Govardhan Hill. And it was there that Vyomasura was killed. Both demons were killed in the morning. Akrura was requested by Kamsa to visit Vrindavan by evening. After receiving instruction from Kamsa, Akrura started the next morning via chariot for Vrindavan. Because Akrura himself was a great devotee of the Lord, while going to Vrindavan, he began to praise the Lord. Devotees are always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, and Akrura was constantly thinking of Lord Krishna's lotus eyes. He did not know what sort of pious activities he must have done to gain an opportunity to go see Lord Krishna. Akrura thought that if Krishna willed, he would be able to see him. Akrura considered himself most fortunate that he was going to see Krishna, whom great mystic yogis desired to see. He was confident that on that day, all the sinful reactions of his past life would be finished, and his fortunate human form of life would be successful. Akrura also considered that he was very much favored by Kamsa, who was sending him to bring back Krishna and Balaram, and thus enabling him to see the Lord. Akrura continued to consider that formerly great sages and saintly persons were liberated from the material world simply by seeing the shining nails of the lotus feet of Krishna.
Anything jump out for you there, Danishar, in those two paragraphs?
Yeah, it was reminding me of the first time that I went to Vrindavan. I was also thinking in that same way. I don't know what kind of pious activities I've done to be able to come to this transcendental land where Krishna had his personal pastimes, and thinking that if I just spend some time there, all my sinful activities will be eradicated.
So it gave you a lot of hope.
Yeah, I was just remembering that first trip and how excited I was to go there and immediately bow down in the dust and roll in the dust of Vrindavan.
I've done that before. I don't know if did I roll? I can't remember.
Yeah. I bet
That's
you
the way.
did.
It just like Daneshwar Prabhu, the same thing. We came in with Gargamuni with the vans, and each van had about a couple of devotees or like that. And my friend Matanga Keshav was my buddy and friend, and Matanga we were the collectors. And anyhow, we read Krishna book and we're so excited to get there. And when we got there,
what year are we talking about? 72, 73? When?
No, this is 75. The end of 75.
Okay.
We enter I think India in 70s. And Vrindavan was, I believe it was either 1st January or something like that. But yeah, we just opened the door, pulled out, and we just rolled on the dirt, on the dust. It was just like we were so excited.
Mhm.
I mean, imagine it was 14 days of traveling. It didn't matter. I mean, we were just thinking about going to Vrindavan since we were in America collecting. That was all throughout all the summer of 75 through the Christmas marathon, and then we flew. So yeah, it was actually well before that. Anyhow, yeah. But I had a question. The Akrura character is really fascinating to me too, or whatever happens with him, because he's involved in the killing of Krishna's father-in-law. Remember Satyajit and the Shamataka jewel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then again, nevertheless, he's mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita as the example of how to attain Krishna, by meditating. How he meditates and going to Vrindavan to see the Lord. He said one should follow the footsteps. So with Matanga, we're reading that. I think it's got to be in Krishna.
It must be there.
It is. And so
maybe it's the next paragraph.
Yeah, maybe it is.
Jagadatri and I read that also, and when we entered Vrindavan, we tried to follow Akrura's footsteps.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, we have 6 devotees, 2 paragraphs each, and we have a half an hour. Let's see if we can do it.
Supreme,
Mrisangi, please.
Supreme Personality of Godhead has now come, just like an ordinary human being, and it is my great fortune to be able to see him face to face. Akrura thought. He was thrilled with expectations of seeing the very lotus feet, which are worshipped by great demigods like Brahma, Narada, and Lord Shiva, which traverse the ground of Vrindavan, and which touch the breasts of the gopis covered with tinges of kumkum. He thought, I am so fortunate that I will be able to see those very lotus feet on this day, and certainly I shall be able to see the beautiful face of Krishna, which he is marked on the forehead and the nose with tilak, and I shall also see his smile and his curling black hair. I can be sure of this opportunity because I see that today the deer are passing on my right side. Today it will be possible for me to actually see the beauty of the spiritual kingdom Vishnu Lok, because Krishna is the supreme Vishnu, and he has advented himself out of his own goodwill. He is the reservoir of all beauty. Therefore, my eyes will be filled today. Akrura knew that beyond a doubt that Krishna is the supreme Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu glances over the material energy, and thus the cosmic manifestation comes into being. And although Lord Vishnu is the creator of this material world, he is free by his own energy from the influence of material energy. By his internal potency, he can pierce the darkness of material energy. Similarly, Krishna, the original Vishnu, by expansion of his internal potency, created the inhabitants of Vrindavan. In the Brahma Samhita, it is also confirmed that the paraphernalia, excuse me, guys, I'm a little bit cold, and the abode of Krishna are expansions of his internal potency. The same internal potency is exhibited on earth as Vrindavan, where Krishna enjoys himself with his parents and in the company of his friends, the cowherd boys and gopis. By the statement of Akrura, it is clear that since Krishna is transcendental to the modes of material nature, the inhabitants of Vrindavan who are engaged in loving service to the Lord are also transcendental.
Thank you. Should have Cindy?
Akrura also considered the necessity of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. He thought that the transcendental activities, instructions, qualities, and pastimes of Krishna are all for the good fortune of people in general. The people can remain constantly in Krishna consciousness by discussing the Lord's transcendental form, qualities, pastime, and paraphernalia. By doing so, the whole universe can actually live auspiciously and at once, peacefully. But without Krishna consciousness, civilization is but a decoration for a dead body. A dead body may be decorated very nicely, but without consciousness, such decorations are useless. Human society without Krishna consciousness is useless and lifeless. Akrura thought that Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna has now appeared as one of the descendants of the Yadu dynasty. The principles of religion are his enacted laws. Those who are abiding by such laws are the demigods, and those who are not abiding are demons. He has advented himself to give protection to the demigods who are very obedient to the laws of the Supreme Lord. The demigods and the devotees of the Lord take pleasure in abiding by the laws of Krishna, and Krishna takes pleasure in giving them all sorts of protection. These activities of Krishna, his protection of the devotees and killing the demons, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, are always good for man to hear and narrate. The glorious activities of the Lord will ever increasingly be chanted by the devotees and demigods.
Thank you. Jiva Mukta, thanks for coming. Obeisances to you. Please continue. Shiva Nokta.
Sorry, just had to unmute. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the spiritual master of all spiritual masters. He is the deliverer of all fallen souls and the proprietor of the three worlds. Anyone is able to see him by eyes smeared with love of Godhead. Today I shall be able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who by his transcendental beauty has attracted the goddess of fortune to live with him perpetually. As soon as I arrive in Vrindavan, I will get down from this chariot and fall prostrate to offer my obeisances to the Supreme Lord, the master of material nature and all living entities. The lotus feet of Krishna are always worshipped by great mystic yogis. So I shall also worship his lotus feet and become one of his friends in Vrindavan, like the cowherd boys. When I bow down before Lord Krishna in that way, certainly he will place his fearless lotus hand on my head. His hand is offered to all conditioned souls who take shelter under his lotus feet. Krishna is the ultimate goal of life for all people who fear material existence. And certainly when I see him, he will give me the shelter of his lotus feet. I am aspiring for the touch of his lotus-like hands on my head. In this way, Akrura expected blessings from the hand of Krishna. He knew that Indra, who is the king of heaven and the master of the three worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems, was blessed by the Lord simply for his offering a little water, which Krishna accepted. Similarly, Bali Maharaj gave only 3 feet of land in charity to Vamanadev. And he also offered a little water, which Lord Vamanadev accepted. And thereby, Bali Maharaj attained the position of Indra. When the gopis were dancing with Krishna in the rasa dance, they became fatigued, and Krishna smeared his hand, which is as fragrant as a lotus flower, over the pearl-like drops of perspiration on the faces of the gopis. And immediately they became refreshed. Thus, Akrura was expecting benediction from the supreme hand of Krishna. Krishna's hand is capable of bestowing benediction to all kinds of men if they take to Krishna consciousness. If one wants material happiness like the King of Heaven, he can derive that benediction from the hand of Krishna. If one wants liberation from the pangs of material existence, he can also get benediction from the hand of Krishna. And if one in pure transcendental love for Krishna wants personal association and the touch of his transcendental body, he can also gain benediction from his hand.
Akrura was afraid, however, of being deputed by Kamsa, the enemy of Krishna. He thought, I'm going to see Krishna as a messenger of the enemy. And at the same time, he thought, Krishna is in each and everyone's heart as the super soul, so he must know my heart. Although Akrura was trusted by the enemy of Krishna, his heart was clear. He was a pure devotee of Krishna. He risked Kamsa's wrath just to meet Krishna. He was certain that although he was going as representative of Kamsa, Krishna would not accept him as an enemy. Even though I am on a sinful mission, being deputed by Kamsa, when I approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I shall stand before him with all humility and folded hands. Surely he will be pleased with my devotional attitude, and maybe he will smile lovingly and look upon me, and thereby free me from all kinds of sinful reaction. I shall then be on the platform of transcendental bliss and knowledge. Since Krishna knows my heart, certainly when I approach him, he will embrace me. I am not only one of the members of the Yadu dynasty, but I am an unalloyed pure devotee. By his merciful embrace, my body, my heart, and soul will be completely cleansed of the actions and reactions of my past life. When our bodies touch, I will immediately stand up with folded hands with all humility. Certainly, Krishna and Balaram will call me, Akrura, uncle. And at that time, My whole life will be glorious. Unless one is recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his life cannot be successful. It is clearly stated here that one should try to be recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by one's grace and devotion, without which the human form of life is condemned. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is equal to everyone. He has no friends and no enemies, but he is inclined to a devotee who renders him service with devotional love. The Bhagavad Gita also declares that the Supreme Lord is responsive to the devotional service rendered by the devotee. Akrura thought that Krishna was like the desire tree in the heavenly planets, which gives fruit according to the desire of the worshipper. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is also the source of everything. The devotee must know how to render service unto him and thus be recognized by him. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is therefore explained that one should serve both the spiritual master and Krishna simultaneously, and in that way make progress in Krishna consciousness. Service rendered to Krishna under the direction of the spiritual master is bona fide service, because the spiritual master is the manifested representative of Krishna. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that when one satisfies the spiritual master, he satisfies the Supreme Lord. It is exactly like service in a government office. One has to work under the supervision of the departmental head. If the supervisor of the department is satisfied with the service of a particular person, a promotion and increase in pay will automatically come. I'd just like to make quick reference to the earlier part here of this paragraph, that Krishna is equal to everyone. And so in Bhagavad Gita 9:29, Krishna says, Shamoham sarva bhuteshu name dvesho stina priyaha ye bhajanti tumang bhaktya mayite teshu chapyaham. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I'm equal to all, and whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend and is in me, and I'm also a friend to him. And similarly, Lord Chaitanya was as hard as a thunderbolt for those who envied him, and as soft as a rose for those who understood his divine mission. That's from the purport of the Bhagavatam, where we're reading from right now. So Krishna Chandra Prabhu, I think you're next. Akrura then thought.
Akrura then thought, when Krishna and Balaram are pleased with my prayers, certainly they will take my hand, receive me within their homes, and offer me all kinds of respectable hospitalities. And they will surely ask me of the activities of Kamsa and his friends. In this way, Akrura, who was the son of Shvapalka, meditated on Sri Krishna on his journey from Mathura. He reached Vrindavan by the end of the day. Akrura passed the whole journey without knowing how long it took. When he reached Vrindavan, the sun was setting. As soon as he entered the boundary of Vrindavan, he saw the footprints of the cows and Lord Krishna's footprints, impressed with the signs of his soul, the flag, trident, thunderbolt, and lotus flower. Upon seeing the footprints of Krishna, Akrura immediately jumped down from the chariot out of respect. He became overwhelmed with all the symptoms of ecstasy. He wept and his body trembled. Out of extreme jubilation upon seeing the dust touched by the lotus feet of Krishna, Akrura fell flat on his face and began to roll on the ground. Akrura's journey to Vrindavan is exemplary. One who intends to visit Vrindavan should follow the ideal footsteps of Akrura and always think of the pastimes and activities of the Lord. As soon as one reaches the boundary of Vrindavan, he should immediately smear the dust of Vrindavan over his body without thinking of his material position and prestige. Narottam Das Thakur has sung in his celebrated song, Vishaya Chariya Kave Shuddha Have Mana, when my mind will be purified after hearing the contamination of material sense enjoyment, I shall be able to visit Vrindavan. Actually, one cannot go to Vrindavan by purchasing a ticket. The process of going to Vrindavan is shown by Akrura.
Thank you. So it looks like the names have kind of stacked up differently here. After Krishna Chandra, it says Shuddha Sindhu and then Jivan Mukta.
Okay. When Akrura entered Vrindavan, he saw Krishna and Balaram engaged in supervising the milking of the cows. Krishna was dressed in yellow garments and Balaram in bluish. Akrura also saw that Krishna's eyes were exactly like the beautifully grown lotus flower of the autumn season. He saw both Krishna and Balaram in the spring of their youth. Although both were similar in bodily features, Krishna was brackish in complexion, whereas Balaram was whitish. Both were the shelter of the goddess of fortune. They had well-constructed bodies, beautiful hands, and pleasing faces, and they were as strong as elephants. Now, after seeing their footprints, Akrura actually saw Krishna and Balaram face to face. Although they were the most influential personalities, they were glancing at him with smiling faces. Akrura could understand that both Krishna and Balaram had returned from tending cows in the forest. They had taken their bath and were dressed with fresh clothing and garlanded with flowers and necklaces made of valuable jewels. Their bodies were smeared with the pulp of sandalwood. Akrura greatly appreciated the aroma of flowers and sandalwood and their bodily presence. He considered himself very fortunate to see Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his plenary expansion, Balaram, face to face, for he knew that they were the original personalities of creation.
Excuse me, Shuddha Sindhu, do you mind if we just read one paragraph each now? Because we're almost finished.
Okay.
Finished the chapter. Jivan Mukta, can you read the next one? Jivan Mukta, Prabhu? Not there? Yeah, he's there. Jivan Mukta? If not, then Bhavatrini, if Jivan Mukta is busy. Nirhari.
As
Hello?
stated in the Brahma Samhita, Krishna is the original personality of Godhead and the cause of all causes. Akrura could understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared personally for the welfare of his creation, to reestablish the principles of religion and to annihilate the demons. With their bodily effulgence, the brothers were dissipating all the darkness of the world as if they were mountains of sapphire and silver. Without hesitating, Akrura immediately got down from his chariot and fell flat, just like a rod before Krishna and Balaram. Upon touching the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he became overwhelmed with transcendental bliss. His voice choked up and he could not speak. Due to Krishna's transcendental presence, incessant torrents of tears fell from his eyes. He remained stunned in ecstasy as if devoid of all powers to see and speak. Lord Krishna, who is very kind to his devotees, raised Akrura with his hand and embraced him. It appeared that Lord Krishna was very pleased with Akrura. Balaram also embraced Akrura. Taking him by the hand, Krishna and Balaram brought him to their sitting room, where they offered him a very nice sitting place and water for washing his feet. They also worshipped him with suitable presentations of honey and other ingredients. When Akrura was thus comfortably seated, both Krishna and Balaram offered him a cow in charity, and then brought very palatable dishes of eatables, and Akrura accepted them. When Akrura finished eating, Balaram gave him a betel nut and spices, as well as pulp of sandalwood, just to make him more pleased and comfortable. The Vedic system of receiving a guest was completely observed by Lord Krishna himself to teach all others how to receive a guest at home. It is a Vedic injunction that even if a guest is an enemy, he should be received so well that he does not apprehend any danger from the host. If the host is a poor man, he should at least offer a straw mat as a sitting place and a glass of water to drink. Krishna and Balaram welcomed Akrura, just befitting his exalted position.
Your Hari Prabhu?
After Akrura was thus properly received and seated, Nanda Maharaj, the foster father of Krishna, said, "My dear Akrura, what shall I inquire from you? I know that you are being protected by Kamsa, who is most cruel and demoniac. His protection is just like the slaughterhouse keeper's protection of animals he will kill in the future. Kamsa is so selfish that he has killed the sons of his own sister. So how can I honestly believe that he is protecting the citizens of Mathura? This statement is most significant if the political or executive heads of the state are simply interested in themselves. They can never look after the welfare of the citizens."
Might as well finish the chapter.
As Nanda Maharaj spoke to Akrura with pleasing words, Akrura forgot all the fatigue of his day's journey from Mathura to Vrndavana. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 37th chapter of Krishna, Akrura's arrival in Vrndavana.
Jai Haribol.
Haribol.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Two questions, actually. One, how did Akrura come to know that Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Is that explained anywhere? And two, when Krishna and Balaram were receiving Akrura, it said there that Krishna shows how to properly receive the guests, but because Krishna is a junior, Akrura is basically his uncle, he should have touched his feet, but he embraced him. So I'm a little confused by that. If anybody can clarify that.
Let's be on my Adhikar. How about
That's it. That's the latest word.
Bhavacharini? You have a comment on that, please?
Say something.
No,
Okay.
I have no idea.
Sorry. But
Okay, but how did he come to know that Krishna was the Supreme Lord?
I don't know that either.
So
If I could just say one thing, I mean, the relationship between uncle and nephew, there is that element of, touching feet, but there is also embracing, just like there's, Krishna embraced his father, Krishna embraced the elderly, those who are in the position of father. And so I don't think that one precludes the other.
Well, generally the juniors, they touch the feet of the seniors, and the seniors may embrace the juniors. Generally, the equals embrace, and the juniors, they touch the feet of the seniors. Anyway, that's my understanding.
Right.
But the parental always embrace the children. Even they may touch their feet, but then they embrace them.
Yeah, the parents will embrace the children.
Yeah.
Sure.
So embracing is not exclusive, but like you said, it's true. I mean, the juniors have to touch the feet of seniors. In reference, I mean, how do they know that it's? Look at all the amount. Prabhupada considers him, and actually, Krishna he's a pure devotee.
Is
So,
he a Mahajan? Is he a
no,
Mahajan?
he's not Mahajan. But the association there, I mean, you have Gargamuni as the Acharya of that dynasty, so prominent. All the devotees there, they all. So who specifically? I don't know is if he took Gargamuni as the Acharya, and was he his Gurudev? is not mentioned, at least in this part of Srimad Bhagavatam. And I can ask somebody that is really, really.
We won't ask him.
Right?
We won't get a chance to ask because
It'll be some days before now we can get to see him.
Get back to us, please. Get back to us.
But also, didn't Balaram and Krishna wash Akrura's feet?
It sounds like it, but then
They
it-
washed.
they gave. It says
read
they
that
gave.
washed
They,
his feet.
they didn't say they washed his feet. They said they gave him water to wash his feet, and then they gave him honey and different things. That sounds like what you do when you're washing.
Abhishek.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, but that's, I mean, when you receive people Vedically, you don't just show them the water here, wash your feet.
Right.
Here, wash your own feet.
That's exactly my impression was that they
Me
washed.
too. My impression was that also.
I mean,
You're not gonna wash your feet, wash your own feet.
all right. And then they bring in betel nuts and like it's all part of, you know, like welcome and receiving someone
Right.
properly and make them feel so amazed in that even if they were your enemy, you just can't tell. Probably
This point of receiving guests properly is paramount. We see there are many incidents in the Srimad Bhagavatam when the guest is not properly received, it creates disaster. So Raman Harshan is one, Lord Shiva and Daksha is another one. There's like 3 or 4. And so, I mean, Prabhupada, I don't remember that Prabhupada ever makes a point about this, but there was one devotee who is from India and who was raised in that culture who pointed this out to me. And after she did, I was like, oh yeah, right. It's a big deal.
But that was in other cultures too. That my parents, coming from European country, you know, it was. I remember as a young boy, you know, that attitude of and that perspective of honoring guests, especially uninvited guests, unexpected.
Called Atiti Baba. That's a Vedic principle.
That was something that I grew up with. It was just natural that's how we, you know, responded to people visiting our
Your
home.
family was practicing Vedic culture.
It's like you say, well, Vedic culture was brought in partly by into Europe, especially forcefully by the Arabs who connected to India, just subdued India. So all this, many of those things that trickle into our culture, into the European culture. And I remember being a kid and among the Catholic boys who were like, you know, if some guest comes unannounced, it could be the Lord.
No,
So
right.
you had to be ready you had to open your house.
Mhm.
And the other thing, my great grandmother, they had a huge house. He had so much that came from, you know, wealthy aristocratic family or whatever. But always at lunchtime, she would send the child or the son or somebody in the family to go out and announce that whoever wants to eat lunch is served.
Wow. That's Vedic culture. Regarding going back to Jivamukta Prabhu for a second, his ancestors are from Italy, and Prabhupada in one conversation said that the descendants of Maharaj Yayati, 2 of his sons, one went to Rome to establish Rome and another went to Turkey. And he said that when Greece, and I also saw Turkey as well.
Yeah.
And when Prabhupada saw the aqueduct in Rome, and he saw like how much advanced the architecture was, Prabhupada said, I can see that the Vedic culture came this far just by observing how advanced the architecture was in Rome. I just thought I'd throw that out there. I have a question, I have a comment, but anyone else, please?
Actually, I just wanted to also comment on how, you know, the Krishna book is so wonderful because it's like a very beautiful, complex tapestry where Prabhupada weaves, you know, the essential teachings of the Shastra and different verses and shlokas, the translations of shlokas in with the dialogue and, the drama that's unfolding, of course, in the story, and how it's just an incredible presentation of, the essence and details of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness along with the storyline. Just beautiful.
I like in Yaduvar's movie, the latest one, Ambishakas, and there is a man interviewing a young man, long hair, interview Prabhupada, who is Krishna? Prabhupada said, first of all, Krishna is an historical character. And the supreme personality of Godhead. And so I always thought that was so impactful. That was so wonderful. We deal in, it's like Chaitanya Charitamrita, that you can say, well, it's a biographical book, but hello. In these books, we read, we hear how they thinking, how Krishna thinks, how Balaram thinks, how the character that is like Akrura is thinking.
Yes.
And it's transcendental, it's ever new. Prabhupada said, all this is Nava Yovana, it's always fresh. It's like Krishna, it's ever fresh. I mean, we can read it, we read it like 50 years ago, and now we're reading it, wow. It's never old, never gets old. So if it was a historical book, like, a history book, once you read it, I mean, you know it well enough, and okay, I mean, I know that. But this it's got very different result. Look at the group, look how many of us are here just to read and hear.
Actually, as we were reading, there was something that triggered a memory from this morning when I got up. Somehow, I got up this morning and I was like, please, Krishna, don't let me take rebirth. I don't want to be reborn, and for some reason this morning, it was so poignant, that thought that, could you imagine having to enter a womb again? And then I have to go through that ignorance of being a child, if I'm at all in a human body. And then, that fog of ignorance of when you're a child, and, I don't want to do it. So I'm kind of praying like this morning. And as we were reading, there was a sentence about the devotee, praying or being fearful of material existence, about material life. And I could kind of relate to it, because this morning I felt that fear of, I don't want that anymore. I don't want to be born again.
That's one of the what is it? How many items of knowledge stated? I'm not sure if it's the beginning of 13th or
13th chapter. Yeah.
Yeah, the Janma Mrityu Jhara Vyadi Dukha Doshanu Darshanam, having a healthy fear against Maya, against repeated birth and death. Prabhupada said the problem with you Westerners is that you don't have a fear of Maya. You're used to flirting with her so much.
And this morning, I think the fear was, if I was to be born again, but I can actually remember, I could kind of remember, Krishna consciousness to a certain extent, then I would feel, a little more, I wouldn't be as fearful. But what's fearful is to forget.
Mm-hmm.
To forget. It's like, oh my God. Could you imagine having to go back into that dark
C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, all over again.
Oh, it's just.
But and we progress. Prabhu, we all right here. We have spiritual masters, so it's guaranteed. Prabhupada told us in the room. Actually, told us. There was a meeting, and he said a few times. But he said, my disciples, 3 more lifetimes at the most.
Wow.
And he didn't say, well, sit down and, said, but don't make me come back.
Right.
Like,
Well, that's
Right.
except for the devotees that aspire to come back and serve Prabhupada in his mission in
Jai.
the next lifetime.
yes, so
Some
what
of
I'm
those
saying is
courageous
it
souls.
does, right, it does progress. And now the progress doesn't have to, it's not going to be, we're going to be taking birth again on this earth. And for one who is initiated, Prabhu, I don't think that it'll be like, we hear about Bharat Maharaj and at the crucial moment, he's thinking of the deer and he falls from Bhav. But that's Leela, you know. But having a spiritual master, the spiritual master is, it actually becomes more and more relevant, more and more powerful than even Krishna himself. It says even Nam Nami, Krishna is not different from his name, but he says that Nam is more merciful. He'll come with us everywhere.
Actually, I was listening to a presentation of Lord Nityananda and his mercy and his compassion, and how Lord Nityananda preached to the low people that Lord Chaitanya preached to the they were more scholarly, more
Right.
high class.
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya.
Whereas Lord Nityananda,
Chagain Marai.
the lowest of the low, and he preached, and I can see why the spiritual master is actually a representative of Lord Nityananda's mercy, because Lord Nityananda's mercy is so, it's open to the lowest, it's open to everybody in society, especially to those who are in many respects materially very unqualified.
Did you hear that beautiful story about one of Prabhupada's original French devotees? I think he might have even been sannyas.
Prutra.
And he, anyway, after Prabhupada left the planet, he kind of lost his faith and he fell back into his old ways in the material world. And he ended up dying of AIDS. And he was in a coma. And the doctors were thinking, okay, how many more hours has he got? And they were in the room when he was in a coma. And it came right to the end of his life. And I wish I could remember his name, but anyway, he's Krishna Putra, okay.
Ritu Putra.
Okay, so he sat up. He suddenly sat up out of this coma and said, Prabhupada, you've come.
Wow.
I mean, that's pretty poignant.
It's incredible. These
Yeah.
stories are so amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
It is, yeah. Compassionate Prabhupada. What was it? We read a little thing. I had to find the quote again, but Prabhupada said, Krishna will never let you go.
Good.
You can try to live Krishna, but he will never let you go.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Krishna will forcibly drag you to success.
yes. Yeah. It's Chaitanya Charitamrita, those devotees who are still, have desires, Krishna will just forcibly give him devotional service, but to lose the taste. But so yeah, we had to, as Prabhupada, you were saying, borderline and stuff like that, renunciation, then it comes to a point where people think, oh, Tyaga is the way to, but we're not Tyagis. We're not enjoyers either. We're not renunciates. We're not enjoyers. When Krishna comes, it brings, whatever it comes. Prabhupada said after initiation, we should take it as Krishna's mercy.
I don't understand. What do you mean by that?
That's Krishna's mercy or whatever.
No, what do you mean whatever comes? What do you mean whatever comes?
Meaning, what we consider good or bad. Sometimes it could be as the environment is all contrary. We're going through miseries of the body or of the mind. Yeah. Or elements that we have here right now. We spent 10 hours in the dark. No, it was like back to the Stone Age. It was good actually, and not so good. because I realized that I could have missed your association. I could have missed, yeah, we have hardbound books, and yeah, we had few candles, so and then actually mainly it was the reading. But yeah, the Prabhupada said, see it as that. If we don't, my father's guru, he lives in Govardhan. He's a disciple of Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Maharaj. He's old now. But he asked me one time, do you know what ahankara means? I said, yeah, it's false ego. He said, everybody knows that one. But ahankara means I am the doer. And as soon as we fall in that thing, wow, life will become so miserable. Especially grihastas, you're thinking, I have to pay the mortgage, I have to pay the car payment, so what are we going to do with this, what are we going to do with that? It could take, and it's not saying that we'll abandon everything as material. No, it's just that we have to do the flip in our minds that, hey, I'm not the doer. It's 5-6 items of surrender, isn't it, that we allow Krishna to, no allow, but I mean, Krishna is telling us, I'll protect you. So we allow ourselves to surrender to that idea that Krishna will maintain us, Krishna will protect us. And at the end, then humility falls, and those are 6 items of, faith.
Could we say, Prabhu, that we're not the doer in the sense that we're not the final, the one who sanctions the results, or obviously we are exerting a certain effort towards accomplishing certain tasks.
Most definitely.
So that's like, we could define that as being a doer, but or would you define doer as the one who actually does the final sanctioning of what happened, what is accomplished?
Yes, but do you remember what in Gita, and very scientifically explained, what was it, the place?
5 factors of action.
Action,
place,
that's
performer.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
so, but, like as a businessman, I know that if it wasn't sanctioned for Krishna, many times, let's say, sometimes I did this and that, and I could put it as a formula, let's say, but it not always worked the same way.
Right. So by the doer,
ultimate. What I'm meaning by doer, what it means by ahankara is the false ego, that part of the mind, that the false ego that thinks, oh, everything I see is mine. What I do, I did myself.
Yeah, doer means that I'm the cause of the results of my activities.
Right. Yeah.
I am the sole cause, or whatever.
Yeah. It's, I did it, which is the source of karma. You think you're the doer, then you get the result.
Actually,
if we understand that Krishna is the doer and we're his servant, then we don't get any result.
But we do. I mean, actually, as grihastas, we have to work. So we do a certain thing. And
but that's a different thing. That's a different idea.
Yeah,
we work to get. We have to work, but the consciousness that I am the cause of the results of my activities sets into motion the chain of karma, which means that we have to accept that result. If we understand Krishna is the doer and the result comes from him, right? The self-sufficient philosopher who is awarding everyone's desire from time immemorial, then we're free from the karmic reaction.
Yeah.
I was listening to some early lectures, Prabhupada lectures from 1966. And it was really interesting because he was regularly making comments to the effect that even if you perform, good activities like religious activities, that if you still have this mentality of being the doer, then that's also not good, because you have to come back and enjoy the good karma that you accumulate.
Yep,
So
exactly.
it's not just a question of coming back for the bad, but if you have to come back to enjoy the good, that's also bad.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It'll throw us. There's so many chances of committing sin. Like, I think it was 5. When we wake up and we breathe, when we light up a fire, when we walk. Even the spiritual master, you could say, well, he commits sin, doesn't he, or not? The
Because
pure
he's
devotee, does he
engaged in
commit?
devotional service, therefore he's nullifying any quote unquote sins that he could have committed.
And what is devotional service? In that sense, is is to like that, to like come to understand our. And who was it? Some devotee was saying, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, if you really realize how insignificant you are, you'll probably want to die. But it's not about groveling either. It's just such a fine. It's really. It is a science. Like Chaitanya Chandra says, it is a science, but it's a science, but it has mysteries. And why? Because Super Soul God is Swatantra, is independent. Absolutely independent. So is the pure devotee.
I'm saving my comments and questions for the end, but I wanted to put the 3 other silent devotees before me because I want to give them facility. Now Nichalila finally appeared at the very, very end. Okay, so Krishna Chandra, do you have any comments? Rasangi, Shruta Sindhu, Nichalila, I don't even know how long you've been listening. Because I have a comment and I have a question and 2 comments, but I'm saving them for the very end. I don't even know if anyone's going to be left, but please speak now if you have something to say.
Thank you for the opportunity. I don't have anything at this time.
Okay, cool. Rasangi, anything from tonight? You're muted.
Oh, I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah,
Okay.
good.
Shruta Sindhu, anything you didn't understand or any realizations come for you?
No,
You're good?
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, Nichalila, how long you been listening? 5 minutes or longer?
Exactly, only 5 minutes. But I would like to request if somebody can summarize the pointers.
Who wants to do that?
What's that?
She wants someone to summarize the pointers.
The pointers.
The points. Akrura arriving in Vrindavan.
Well,
can't hear you. Can't hear you. Mute is on.
No?
Now good. Good.
No, summary of the story or summary of our discussion?
Oh my God.
We'll have to do it all over again.
No, that'll take an hour. I mean, I can read at the beginning of this chapter. I have the summary right here in front of me. But if anyone else,
it's recorded.
Yeah,
the whole thing is recorded.
You could go back and listen to it. But the summary is very, very brief here. This chapter describes Akrura's trip from Mathura to Vrindavan, his meditation on Krishna and Balaram along the way, and the honor the 2 lords showed Akrura upon his arrival. Early in the morning, on the day after Kamsa had ordered him to bring Krishna and Balaram to Mathura, Akrura prepared his chariot and set off for Gokul. As he traveled, he thought, I'm about to attain the great good fortune of seeing Sri Krishna's lotus feet, which are worshipped by Brahma, Rudra, and the other demigods. Although Kamsa is an enemy of the Supreme Lord and his devotees, still, it is by Kamsa's grace that I will get the great honor of seeing the Lord. When I first, my eyes tearing because I put some peppermint oil in it. when I first catch sight of his lotus feet, all my sinful reactions will be destroyed at once. I will descend from my chariot and fall at the feet of Krishna and Balaram. And even though I've been sent by Kamsa the omniscient Sri Krishna will certainly harbor no animosity toward me. As Akrura thus thought to himself, he arrived in Gokul at sunset. Alighting from his chariot in the coward pasture, he began rolling about in the dust in great ecstasy. Then Akrura continued on to Vraj. When he saw Krishna and Balaram, he fell at their lotus feet, and both the lords embraced him. Afterward, they brought him to their residence, inquired from him about the comfort of his trip, and honored him in various ways, offering him water for washing his feet, ugraya. Am I saying it right? No,
Argya.
argya, thank you. A seat, and so forth. They relieved him of his fatigue by massaging his feet and served him a delicious banquet. Maharaj Nanda also honored Akrura with many sweet words. Anyone have anything to add to that? That's from the Bhagavatam itself.
We spoke, as you remember, of also etiquette and the exchange. And Prabhu Daneshwar, he was asking the question, who instructed Akrura? Because Akrura mentions that he realizes he's coming to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna and Balaram. And it describes him, and he's just so excited and like that. And when he gets there, I mean, they received him as uncle, and so there is an exchange where it looks like he is actually, Akrura is rendering, the etiquette that you would have towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and at the same time, Krishna Balaram received them the proper way as uncle, and they embraced him, and they received them with many, many different items to make him feel comfortable and like that. So we're wondering how is it that he knows when he's approaching Vrindavan that he already knew he was going to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so to that, I don't remember reading who was his instructing, his spiritual master or his initiating spiritual master. All of that dynasty, they have Gargamuni, so I assume that maybe, and people talk. I mean, and there was a community, the Mathura, of devotees, and him being a pure devotee. So that's kind of like that. We talked all kinds of a little bit about the economy.
I'd like to ask a question, please, and I have two comments to make.
Yes. Go ahead.
So my question is, we were reading about Akrura saying that because the deer have passed on my right-hand side today, then therefore I am sure to see Krishna and Balaram. And I'm thinking, gee, that kind of sounds superstitious or like an omen. And I was wondering if someone could please enlighten me. Why? Because he saw the deer on the right-hand side, he thought, oh, that's a sign. I'm going to get the blessings of Krishna and Balaram. What's the connection between that?
Because there are auspicious things and like that. If you remember when Krishna and Balaram went to school, they learned all these arts.
Sandipani Muni.
At Sandipani, yeah, they learn all these arts.
Thank you, Daneshwar, for coming. I had an important point to share about the cover of the Bhagavad Gita, but I know we stretched things out so far that I don't get a chance.
Anyway, thank you for your association. See you next time.
Hare Krishna.
Daneshwar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I wanted to catch everybody on points, but it's hard because everyone has so much to say. I'm trying to practice humility and keep myself for the last.
So that people, all these things, signs, and people, they think it's superstitious or superstition because they really don't know the science behind it, or it's a miracle because they don't really know the science behind it.
So does that mean every time we see a deer and it's on our right-hand side, that's a good sign? We'll be blessed?
You see a deer that will cross you from right to left. and that's so rare. And so they're specific. If you know Vedic, obviously, I mean, Akrura, to get to there, any of these associates, intimate associates, some of them, or that they have exchanged something with Krishna when they appear, they're all, they have practiced devotional service for many, many, many lifetimes. So their knowledge is vast. Their knowledge is vast. So even Krishna went to school and learned this science. For example, having pots of water at the entrances of the houses, they have to be full. If they're empty, it's not auspicious. Like Achutananda Prabhu was talking about Thursday. Don't do anything. There's a certain hour on Thursday that nothing works. Nothing you can do will work. So as devotees, there are signs, there are things that will indicate something auspicious or inauspicious.
I think Govinda Das said between something like the 15th and New Year's, very inauspicious time. Don't go anywhere. I'm thinking, what am I supposed to do with that? What am I supposed to do with that? I'm supposed to be on the Krishna.
Right. Although I have a funny story. The devotees, I mean, even probably, the Narayana Maharaj was at the beginning of his tour. He was like, they were casting, horaries or like, astrological things to see, if it was the auspicious time to leave or not, and like that. And Narayana Maharaj says, I had enough. Look at all the Western devotees. They go whatever they want to. If they're going to preach, they don't care. They say, why should I care?
Well,
talking that way.
I was just going to say that when we were on Sankirtan, who cared? Like every day we got up, we did the same thing. We, Thursday or no Thursday. I mean,
it
didn't matter. And actually, all of these things are, it is something factual, but it's based on material nature. It's not spiritual.
Well, I mean, when we talk, the problem is that when we talk about material nature in the Western world, we see it as the elements, but they're demigods, and we are pleasing the root, the supreme God. So the demigods are going to respond in a very positive way. But I think those signs are just a way to confirm that what his actions were about. They were perfect, and they were to achieve a supreme result.
But certain things are just very obvious. Like when you see groups of crows, it gives you like this foreboding that something is, it just kind of makes you feel that something's not right, because just the nature of crows and the sounds they make and the way they look, they're just not very auspicious, birds, or creatures.
But it always, right. Yeah. Like geckos, the gecko, the lizard, lizards in India and here, and Vrndavana are all the sun. What?
There was a book from India.
No, I know that, but I mean, Vrindavan, our son, had a book on geckos. If they hit your right side or your left, or if they hit your head. But here in Hawaii, it's interesting how the culture is spread all over. Another way to confirm that the culture was all over the place. And Italians are very much into science and like that. I mean, imagine Buenos Aires is like a lot of Italians and like that. But I was just I lost a little bit of it.
You were talking about the geckos in Hawaii.
Oh yeah, the geckos. So the Hawaiians here, the local people said, if you're talking the truth, the gecko will go.
Right. Yeah.
And now we have different kind of geckos, more aggressive. It's like very Kali Yuga, we got Indonesian geckos that devoured all the Indian geckos that we had here in Hawaii. And then, but then going to India, I heard the same thing. And so for me, confirmed, oh yeah, that culture, obviously Hawaiian culture came from from India, or at least they connected to, everybody was connected. So signs are like that. I mean, but the most important is, what are we doing? What is our goal? What is the essence of, what, and then the rest is, sometimes we'll confirm it and sometimes it won't. Or it doesn't really matter. Baba Trini wants to say something.
Not too far away, so maybe. We noticed when Akrura was talking about how he was sure Krishna would give him mercy because all Indra did was offer him a little water, and all Vamana did was give him 3 steps of land and a little water. And I thought it was so funny. Did anyone else read that? It was like,
we all read it. I love it. He said Indra gave him a little bit of water.
3 steps and a little water. Little water from Vamana Dev was the Ganges.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, I read. I was thinking about that when we were reading it. Like, just Bali Maharaj gave him just 3 steps. Well, it was those steps were pretty big. There wasn't much left after those 3 steps.
Right.
There was nothing.
So that's the endearing thing about all these leelas and Krishna, the Supreme Lord, that is, he loves to play Nara Leela, the human pastime, but it's also the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is a mind blower for the most intelligent person in this universe. Lord Brahma has 4 brains, and he's astonished. Lord, now Brahma is taking birth. I mean, it's a little boy playing in the courtyard of Nanda Baba, or this little boy running around the forest with food in the left hand, and anyhow. I'm sorry, Gaura, you wanted to ask and you wanted to comment. And
I have 2 more comments I'm waiting to make, but go ahead, Jivan Mukta Prabhu.
I just wanted to mention that this pastime of Akrura came up in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. In it, it's explained how this pastime constantly plays over, like on repeat, constantly Lord Krishna leaves Vrindavan, and constantly he comes back, and the residents are so happy when he returns that they actually forget in their ecstasy that he had left. And then it just constantly reoccurs. Then constantly Lord Krishna is taken away by Akrura again, and then he comes back. And it's this constant state of despair and grieving, and then such ecstasy when he returns that they actually forget that they were so disturbed and they were so aggrieved by his departure. They actually forget that pastime, and then it happens again. And it's explained how it just goes, eternally, this pastime is going on.
Thank you. So when we were just reading at the very, very end, the last few words in this pastime, let me just find them again. Okay, good, got them. Think. Will it come up? Okay. After Akrura was thus properly received and seated, Nanda Maharaj, the foster father of Krishna, said, "My dear Akrura, what shall I inquire from you? I know that you are being protected by Kamsa, who is most cruel and demoniac. His protection is just like the slaughterhouse keeper's protection of animals. He will kill in the future. Kamsa is so selfish that he's killed the sons of his own sister. So how can I honestly believe that he is protecting the citizens of Mathura? The statement is most significant. If the political or executive heads of the state are simply interested in themselves, they can never look after the welfare of the citizens. So I say that these few words here completely summarize the current situation in the world right now. For anyone to believe that any of these demoniac people actually are concerned about anyone's health, you have to be in a big illusion. Those are, in my not so humble opinion. That was one comment I wanted to make. And the other comment is, this is not related to tonight's reading, but it was some research I was doing today. I sent this message out to Madhua Kavichandra Swami and a few other devotees. I had inquired from Vaisheshika Prabhu a few years ago about why there's, like 12 or 13 paintings now in the Bhagavad Gita when it was over 50 back in 1972. And he mentioned that it's because the books cost more to publish now if you put all 50 paintings in them compared to the dozen that they're currently putting. But then I found out that the Krishna book incorporated version has all the original paintings in it. So something doesn't add up there. So I asked Vaisheshika Prabhu also, why is it that we don't have the original, amazing artwork here that we all know, the original, dynamic cover of that, I remember when I first bought my Bhagavad Gita in 1975, this amazing artwork. I mean, I would say I might have bought the Bhagavad Gita just for the cover art itself. It was so dynamic and amazing to see. And he mentioned, there's a big book distribution company called New Leaf that distributes a lot of books for us, like to a lot of stores and places. And they said that the very colorful artwork, that was like more popular for the 60s and 70s. And now the current orange covered one, and I did research on this. This piece was done by Vasudeo Pandya in 1915. It's called Gita Birth. That's where this is coming from. And so the New Age book distributors, New Leaf, they said this cover will sell many more than the old one. So then Avadut Maharaj said to me, well, we would need to look at the book sales to see if actually this new one is selling way more than the others. And I said, well, Vaisheshika is so fired up, you give him any book and he'll champion it, of Prabhupada's, and he'll make it a big seller. So I asked Rameshwar Prabhu, who did this original artwork? Well, first I asked Pushkar, and Pushkar said the original art in 72 was, I asked if it was Jadharani, and he said yes. And then I also simultaneously asked Rameshwar, and he said Bardaraj. Yeah. And I told Rameshwar, well, Pushkar said it was Jadharani. And he said, well, maybe it was one of those combination paintings where a few artists worked on it together. So then I wrote to Rameshwar again, and this is his last message to me, and I've not read it yet, so I'll read it to you all for whoever's interested about the artwork in the Gita. Srila Prabhupada appointed me as BBT trustee for life at the February 1975 Mayapur festival. I have direct instructions from Srila Prabhupada about publishing his books that I look forward to sharing with the current group of BBT trustees next year when I move back into ISKCON full time. None of the current trustees were appointed by Srila Prabhupada, and I look forward to sharing with them what I learned and was instructed to follow regarding his books. The conversations about the cover art and the BBT art, as well as the constant editing change disease, does not conform with Srila Prabhupada's final instructions to the BBT. I will do my best to help restore the BBT policies to what Srila Prabhupada instructed. I beg to remain your aspiring BBT servant, Rameshwar Das. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. I thought it was important. It's not related to the talk today, but
what? New Leaf?
When my coloring book came out,
oh yeah,
they rejected it because it had violence.
Yeah, well, Trini's coloring book for children, and the same company. This was in the 90s, so the
No, it was 85.
It was 85, sorry, and they rejected it, saying that it was too violent.
Too violent.
Yes.
My coloring book.
And then you had other cute. I mean, it's a normal thing of a child to like the monsters when they get killed
Yeah.
or defeated. So,
Yeah.
you feel, protected, you feel great. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not run by monsters, but and they said they quoted it's because of the mentality of the people nowadays. Is the new age, was like, we keep it peaceful and love.
Om Shanti Shanti.
Shanti Shanti and stuff. All misunderstood stuff. So, but Rameshwar, no, it's like Avadut Maharaj is saying, we should check the figures, their figures, but Rameshwar should know. I mean, since it's the selling end of that, so he should know. But I just don't want anything touched. Whatever Prabhupada liked. I mean, why reinvent the wheel?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. And that cover, that painting might be okay, nice, and it might attract some people, 1915, whatever. And now 100 years later.
But we don't know that Srila Prabhupada would authorize it. That we don't know. We
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So nothing. There is a word that Govinda Dasi uses, that nothing of the Acharya should be changed.
Arsha Prayoga.
Arsha
Prayoga.
Arsha Prayoga, that's right.
Yeah. It means post-editing, posthumous editing, it's not allowed.
Yeah. So it's like isn't it time I gotta find this. But Prabhupada said, I want, and actually personally told Hanuman, I want all of you to come to a stage where you can instruct others about Krishna, know the Krishna science, so, and in that he further goes to say that my disciples at one point, they should branch out, they should open. I want to call it under the umbrella of ISKCON, or maybe it's another branch of the Tree of Lord Chaitanya.
Right.
ISKCON is one of the branches of the Tree of Lord Chaitanya.
Right.
Isn't it? And
that as long, he said regarding Siddhaswarupananda as another branch, he said, as long as the fruit tastes the same. It may be the same tree, but the fruit must taste the same. Different branches, but the fruit must taste the same.
Yeah. And if there is something systemic, something wrong with that brother, it's going to dry out and, rot away, and they'll disappear. Yeah. Even during the Lord Chaitanya's times, Kaviraj Goswami is talking about that. There were branches that dried out because they speculated, they went into tangents and like that. They changed the philosophy.
My humble request of you in your Hari Prabhu, it's actually a very big demand I'm going to make of you right now. But that is that our dear God brother Siddhanta Prabhu, he's interviewing all of these, original pioneer Prabhupada disciples. And certainly your brother-in-law, Hanuman Prabhu, is one of those original pioneers. Henri Jolicoeur, Hanuman Prabhu. If you could in some way cultivate him, that because I've seen some of his lectures, and they're not always so positive. But if you could cultivate him in a way to share, I don't know if it's possible. I don't know what state of mind he's in, but if we could set him up, it would be great. Siddhanta to take his memories. That would be wonderful.
Yes, they were. I think they did an injustice not to find them, really. My sister compiled about a booklet this big, like an eighth of an inch or more, on just Prabhupada's exchange of letters that went on because of his preaching work, and which was amazing, and the amount of devotees that he made, all that. But,
maybe you could give a talk based on those letters, something, I don't know, but it's in your hands, really. I don't know anybody else in this world that might be able to have a positive influence on him to do that.
Well, it slowly might happen. We distance each other. I just,
I understand.
This is like, he married my sister, so it's a little, And then, and so I saw just the beginning of one thing he said, and I just thought, what a waste of a phenomenal preacher, just focus on criticism. So
and anyway, maybe things are too far gone. I don't know, but I'm just suggesting to you.
No, nobody is. Prabhupada took him in, so and initiated us. I like that. Bharati Maharaj is very, very compassionate. He said, even when they talk about the elephant offense, he was saying, Bharati Maharaj was saying that in the future, there's always a chance. Krishna always,
I get it. I'm just saying the sands of time in the hourglass are running out, and we're all going to be gone very soon. So
those will be very valuable. A little window of opportunity came that some of the devotees in Argentina contacted me. Because I was the chief editor, my sister was the designer, Hannah was the director, and I was doing ISKCON Press.
Right.
It was like we had a like what they call now Spanish VT, but we had it. I mean, due to politics. So Hanuman suffered a lot of politics on himself, and whatever, karma is karma.
I mean, he's been a hypnotherapist. He has all the tools he needs to put things aside. And if possible, I don't know. I cannot say. Anyway, see what you could do. Because I help Siddhanta to find people, and I suggest them, and then Siddhanta goes out and contacts Rupanuga, this one.
That's what I was mentioning. I sent some photos of Buenos Aires when we first went out to the park, and there's a particular park we used to go, and there was a little bit of an exchange. He sent me back. I sent photos of him walking with Prabhupada in London, because he was one of the first ones to arrive. Maybe the second group or something. The first three couples, and then Hanuman showed up. So he was an early devotee. And then he went to India, and I mean, he introduced me to Srila Prabhupada, introduced my sister to Srila Prabhupada.
I know he's done great stuff, but whether or not you can get him into a frame of mind that he can just speak nectar, I don't know.
I leave it, But you know what? It all depends on the blessings and wishes of the devotees. And like Guru Das was saying, they asked him closing words, Namras, and he said, be good to one another.
Right.
Be good to one another.
Right.
And there's something that we still, I noticed that among Gaura, it's like barking and biting each other.
We've been cruel to each other. I heard Hanuman say Prabhupada told him to go to the GBC meeting. He came. Guru Kripa came to the door, with all due respect to Guru Kripa Prabhu, and Guru Kripa said, well, what do you want? He said, I'm coming to the GBC meeting, and Guru Kripa said no, and he slammed the door in his face. So I mean that's Hanuman.
So and then we have I suffer the consequence of being in the midst in between two GBCs changes, and I got service that Prabhupada gave me personally. I had finished Bhagavad Gita as it is by 73. Hanuman then told Prabhupada said, are you sure? He studied me, and then he said, yes, okay, you can. Then by 75, I was kicked out. I was taken, everything was taken, all my service was. And so that Hanuman lost everything that way. When ISKCON closed its door, that was it.
You have to find your way to survive. Nitya Leela has a request. If anyone wants to donate copies of Bhagavad Gita for Pakistan devotees, kindly inform. I'm not sure.
In English?
English, because you have Urdu and Sindh. You're talking about English?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. We bought from Suradas. He passed away, our god brother. But we have some remaining Bhagavad Gitas, the purple Bhagavad Gita, that
the very first one.
And we have what?
It's a Krishna book redoing of the 1960.
What do you mean a Krishna book redoing?
No, Krishna.com.
Krishna.com. So we bought, but we got from Surah, we got from him many books. So let me see in our storage.
No pictures in them.
There is no pictures in them. The verses are there. Every few verses there is a purport. There is no Sanskrit, is there?
So you're saying even though Urdu and Sindh are the main languages, there's a market for English to some extent?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, any language.
How do we? Okay, that's.
It says you will get immense mercy of Srila Prabhupada. We're planning to conduct a mega program in January for donors, remarks, memories with Srila Prabhupada.
So if you can please, through, actually you do have, Nitya Leela, Mataji, you have my messenger, if you can explain to how would I ship? I mean, I could try on this end. It's Hawaii, it's US. How do we ship to Pakistan? Especially religious, what they will consider religious material, if it's okay, or at least that's a procedure. What
Haribol Jivan Mukta, good night, Prabhu. Thank you for coming.
And also an address. Haribol Jivan Mukta, Prabhu.
Okay, I'm going now too. Can you two deal with each other after it's almost 10 o'clock?
Okay, I was just that. Nitalila, please send me through Messenger an address or the place that I could send the books, and I look to see how many we got left.
So thank you. Days, Krishna willing. Vanchakalpa, Trubhyascha. We'll be discussing Akrura's vision in 2 days from now. The vision of Akrura on the Jamuna River. That's coming up next. Stay tuned. Okay.
Be good. Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada ki jai.